12 months ago, I was doing around £30,000 a month. This March, we did £108,000. No lucky launch, no viral moments, just a simple, repeatable system. And if you're a coach watching this and you're thinking, I'm not making the money I should be, or I don't know how to get clients consistently, or I just don't think I've got the right business model, then I want you to pay close attention. Because in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 steps that took us from £30,000 to £108,000 a month. And I'm not just going to tell you what we did. I'm actually going to show you how to do it yourself. So stick around because there's one thing that most coaches skip that's actually the foundation for all of this to work. And if you want help applying this in your business, there's a link down below to book in a call with myself. A quick heads up, I won't be taking calls forever, so if you want some help, jump on it now. Right, before I get into the 10 steps, I need to actually show you what the model actually looks like. Otherwise, none of what I'm about to share with you will make any sense at all. So this is what we've built brick by brick. So we had one core offer called the Elite Coaching Academy. 6 months, £5,400, and we can run about 15 coaches a month through it without anyone burning out, whether it's me or my team, or sacrificing the service. Now, if you do the maths, that's a stable base, predictable, no kind of custom proposals, and we're averaging around £50,000 to £70,000 a month, depending on how people pay. But £108,000 doesn't come from just one offer. So I'm going to show you how we built the foundation first. That's phase one. And then how we layered on the bits that took us from a healthy coaching business to doing £108,000 last month alone. So let's dive on into it. So the first step is one that most coaches get entirely wrong. And honestly, it's the reason that most of you watching this video are stuck below 10K a month right now. And if you get this wrong, nothing else in this video will work. But get it right, you're already ahead of 90% of coaches. So let me tell you how I learned this lesson. So before I worked with coaches, I had a business helping 7- and 8-figure business owners to end self-sabotage. The program was called Self-Sabotage to Self-Advancement. I scaled it to about £52,000 in a month. And honestly, I was delighted. Like I was on a high, I'd hit the number that I'd been chasing for years. So the truth is, I weren't doing it because I loved the work. I was doing it purely out of ego. And then one Thursday afternoon, I had a 2 p.m. in my calendar with a woman called Emma. She was a coach, and I remember being sat at my desk that morning, really looking forward to that call. And I had a moment where I was thinking, why am I so excited to speak to Emma, but nobody else? And it's because she was a coach. And I realized that I loved working with coaches, loved the business development, love helping someone build something that actually changes lives. So when I help a coach make more money, they help more people. And that's the bit that I'm really passionate about. So I pivoted the whole business to helping coaches. New offer, new messaging, new everything. From self-sabotage for business owners to helping coaches to start, grow, and scale an online coaching business to 6 figures. And here's the thing, that one decision changed everything for me. I still had the same skills, we still kind of used similar frameworks, but we had a totally different impact. And I had a calendar full of people that I really wanted to work with. So that's why step one is to get brutally specific about who you help and what result that you get for them. So here's what I want you to do. Simply finish this sentence. I help, insert your ideal avatar, achieve, insert their desired result. So there's 3 steps to nail this. Number 1, pick the client you actually love working with. Not the one who pays the most, the one who actually lights you up and gets you excited. You get some brownie points if you've already got these types of people results in the past. Number 2, what's the one outcome that they actually want? Not what you think they need, what they actually want. Whether it's more clients, more confidence, more money, etc. Now, AI can be your best friend with this these days. Number 3, plug it into the sentence. For me, I help online coaches start and grow their business to 6 figures. That sentence is the foundation of every piece of marketing that I do. Every sales call, every offer, you name it, it's all backed by that statement. Now, once you've nailed that, a new problem, of course, shows up because having a clear person and a clear result is just one thing. But the moment a prospect actually asks you, so how does this work? A lot of coaches get this completely wrong. So let me just tell you a story. Last year, I worked with an Airbnb coach. Great fella, he really knew his stuff, had already helped a handful of clients to get their first kind of Airbnb units up and running. But every sales call he was having was a complete disaster because prospects would ask him, cool, how does this actually work? And he'd just go off on a tangent. Sometimes he'd talk about deal sourcing, sometimes pricing, sometimes listing optimization. Sometimes he'd talk about the mindset side of things of becoming an operator. But every answer that he gave was just completely different. And what happened then was people were just so confused about how it all worked that so many people got off the sales calls and they said, let me think about it, because they were just confused. And when he did get clients, the delivery side was even worse because clients just assumed he'd help them with anything, everything, right? Finding properties for them, dealing with their landlords, sorting cleaners out for the properties. And this happened because the line was never clearly drawn. And then something happened before we actually started working together. Clients were enrolling, they were doing the work for a few weeks, and then they were just sabotaging themselves halfway through. And they wouldn't kind of view the properties he sent them. They wouldn't make contact with the landlord. They wouldn't get in touch with the cleaners. They would just go completely quiet. And at first, of course, he blamed the clients, right? He thought that, oh, they're just not serious. He thought he actually needed to find people that actually wanted it more. So he came to me completely bent out. He was just second guessing his pricing, second guessing his offer, second guessing whether he was even cut out for this, the usual stuff. But when I looked at his business, the diagnosis was super simple. He didn't have a framework. That's it. That was the whole problem. There was no clear path on the sales call. There was no clear path in delivery. So every single prospect was getting a custom explanation. Every client was getting a custom experience. Him in the middle of it, just fighting fires, exhausted, wondering why nothing was actually moving in the right direction. So what we did is we helped them to build a framework step by step. So ours for our coaching program is 5 phases, right? Self-sabotage, create, market, sell, deliver. That's it. And that's why step 2 is to build a framework, your own version of what I just shared with you. Now, this is simply called a client success pathway, because it maps out where your client is and where they will be after they've worked with you. So here's how to build yours. Simply grab a pen, draw a line from start to finish, write down every single thing that you do to get your client a result. Get it all out of your head and onto some paper. Then simply just group them. 3 to 5 logical phases. You don't need to overcomplicate this. And then just put them in chronological order. What happens first? What happens second? What happens third? Right? That's it. And bonus points if you can give it a nice fancy name. Sounds daft, but a framework with a name gets remembered. And when you've done this, you stop being a coach who helps everyone and you become a coach with an actual system that makes a difference. So having a framework is great, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough, because the next problem that you'll run into is something called scope creep. This is when clients are pulling you in 50 different directions, every project looking different, and your time is just getting eaten alive. And this happened to me when I first started coaching. I had a framework, but at the start of my coaching journey, I was doing slightly different stuff for different clients, right? I had different program lengths, had different prices, different kind of bits and bobs depending on who I'd signed up. If the month was quiet, it was completely exhausting. And that's when I realized the framework needed a container. It needed like a fixed shape, right? So there was the same scope, same price, same timeline every single time. Think about Nando's. You don't walk in and say, do me a favor, do us a steak tonight, mate. You don't bring your own marinade. You literally turn up, you get the menu, you pick the chicken, you pick the heat, you pick your sides. The menu's completely fixed, but within that menu, you get exactly what you want. And it feels custom, even though it isn't. And that's the whole point. We're going to do exactly the same. That's what your coaching offer needs to be. Your framework is the menu. Your package is the meal, and the customer doesn't feel restricted. They actually feel like they've got exactly what they came for. So for us, that was the Elite Coaching Academy. It was 6 months at £5,400, same framework, same calls, same support for every single coach who joins. And here's the thing, when I tell prospects, this is 6 months, this is what's in it, this is what the investment is, there's no kind of negotiating. There's no custom proposals or faffing about. They either want in or they don't. That's why step 3 is to package it tight. Fixed scope, fixed price, fixed timeline. So how do you build your container? Well, number 1, list your delivery milestones. What actually has to happen for a client to get the result? Number 2, group them into stages, whether it's onboarding, delivery, offboarding, or whatever shape suits your work, right? Number 3, give it a timeline. How long does it realistically take? Here's the tip with this. That timeline becomes an actual selling point, because 6 months isn't just how long ECA runs. It's a promise. And coaches know exactly what they are committing to and exactly when they will see a difference. But a tight package on its own still isn't enough, Because if your delivery still relies on remembering everything, chasing clients for documents and digging through, I don't know, old WhatsApp or Facebook messages to find templates, then you are nowhere near productized. You just maybe are organized on a good day. So when we built ECA out properly, I sat down and asked one question. What am I doing over and over again for every single client? Because if I'm repeating it, then I certainly should be just templating it. So I started to build things, some pretty cool things like automation emails that replaced about 4 or 5 back and forth emails, a tool that we call the Clarity Compass Niche Builder to help coaches figure out their niche themselves in a matter of hours. Then we built the Elite Offer framework, which is literally fill in the blanks, get a clear offer out the other side. Plug and play content systems. We had a 30-day content plan. There were sales frameworks, objection handling docs, and then we just automated the bits in between. Like confirmation emails, reminder messages, onboarding sequences, and none of that needed me to lift a finger once it was built. So the result of doing all of this, onboarding went from literally days to minutes. Loads of mistakes dropped within the business, and the team stopped asking me the same questions every single week. And here's the bit that clients loved. They didn't see any of it. They just felt the difference. So it was smooth and it was professional. And because it felt easy, it also felt premium too for the clients. So I'm sure you can build something really cool these days with AI, but you really don't need any fancy software for this in order to get started. Honestly, the first version of all of our systems were just on Google Drive, Documents, and Zapier. That's it. That's why step 4 is to systemize everything that you repeat. If you do it more than twice, template it. So here's exactly how you can start today. Number 1, make a master intake form. Collect everything that you need from a new client in one go. Number 2, build delivery templates, assessments, worksheets, content calendars, whatever you do for every single client, and then just template it. Number 3, automate your comms, like whether you use Zapier or ConvertKit, whatever you use. Confirmation reminders, onboarding emails, none of that should need you. So the tip with all of this is to just start with the thing that you repeat the most and make that first. Then move on to the next, then move on to the next. But by this point, your business is humming, right? It's predictable, it's smooth, but there's a new ceiling that is waiting for you. And it's one that I hit the hardest. So my calendar was packed, but I didn't want a bigger team. And there was only one of me. So you'll know yourself if you're a good coach. One-to-one coaching is brilliant. You can go really deep with your clients until it actually traps you. So I hit a point where demand was super high, my calendar was super full, and the only way to grow was to either work more hours or hire more people. And I didn't want to do either. So I also didn't want to disappear for 3 months building something massive. And I also didn't want to launch a low ticket offer for like 97 quid and just call it a day. I just wanted to ask, can I deliver the same result, but to more people in less of my time? That's when I rebuilt ECA entirely. And we launched it as a small group program. Same framework, same path. We just delivered it live to a cohort instead of one-on-one clients. So there was weekly trainings, weekly Q&As, there was support in between. It was a lean, profitable business from the first cohort. But more importantly, it proved something that I needed to know. A lot of the coaches, they wanted the outcomes, whether or not I personally held their hand throughout the whole process. They wanted the system, they wanted the support, they wanted to be in a room of other coaches that were doing the same thing. Now, that offer became the foundation for everything that we built afterwards. That's why step 5 is to go one-to-many. The same outcome, but just leveraging delivery. So you might be thinking, well, how do you do that? It's easy. You just take your framework, you break it into chunks across the 8 to 12 weeks, you run weekly trainings, add a Q&A call, you can use School, Slack, whatever, just somewhere that all of your members can congregate and ask questions in between. You don't need anything polished, so don't kind of mess around with all of that. Just literally do the slides, your voice, your framework, done, boxed off. Now, here's the bit that actually got us to 108K. ECA running smoothly gave us a base, a stable, predictable income around 50 to 70K a month. It was a great business, but it was nowhere near 108K. So we layered on 2 things. The first was the Elite Coaching Mastermind. This was £8,000 for coaches already making above 5K a month, and they were wanting to scale by working with me directly. Now, this price point was for new clients only. There was a huge reduction for existing clients that would ascend into that mastermind to increase lifetime value. But this was one-to-one with me, more intense. There was a lot more kind of deeper work. And we built this specifically because once you get to 6 figures or thereabouts, there are new problems that happen, new challenges that you face. So the mastermind existed because of this. The second was the continuation offer. This was around 2.5K plus VAT, which is 3K. This was for coaches who finished ECA and wanted to keep building with us. And at this point, they would have made their initial investment back with us and signed a ton of clients. So it just made sense for them to continue working with us. Because for me, retention matters more than new business. And your best clients should never have a reason to leave your world if they are happy, of course. So in March, that stack of ECA enrollments, 5 mastermind ascensions, plus continuation revenue from existing community, all added up to £108,000, which was the biggest month that we've ever had. Now, we didn't get there by working more. We got there by stacking offers that scale with the time that we already had. But having a leveraged offer is actually only useful if you can fill it. And this is where I see so many coaches crumble, because they've got a great program, but nobody can buy it, and they end up convincing people instead of actually selling it. So how do we fix this problem? Well, let me share something with you. Most coaches, they treat every single inquiry the same. Someone DMs them and then they jump on a call, spend an hour pitching, and they do something we call pitch and pray. But that's not a sales process. It's just hope. So what we did differently is we started taking 2 calls. Call 1 was a 15-minute triage call. This was essentially to discover if they were a good fit. I'm not pitching anything here. I'm working out one thing. Is this person a fit for us, and are we a fit for them? That's it. Quick conversation, qualifying questions, done. Call is no longer than 10 minutes, maybe 15 at a push. Call 2 is the proper consultation. We're trying to find out where they are now, where do they want to be, and how does our framework get them from one place to another. We didn't have a fancy pitch deck. There was no pressure. It was just a conversation. And when I started doing it this way, 2 things happened. Close rate went up because I weren't selling to people who were never going to buy. And I stopped dreading every single sales call because every one of them that we actually had was with someone serious. The other thing it did, and this is sneaky but pretty important, every call became data because we tracked what we got booked, who showed up, which questions stalled the sale, which kind of objections came up the most, and we recorded all of the calls. And that recording library then trained me, then it trained the team when it wasn't just me on every single call. That's why step 6 is to build a sales process that qualifies and not convinces. So if you want to build your own version of exactly what we did, then here's exactly what you need to do. First of all, set up a 15-minute discovery call. This is the triage call, right? It's a short calendar form. You can do this on Calendly with some proper qualifying questions. Now, the goal is to just screen for your program, not pitch your program. Then you invite the right ones to the consultation call. On this call, then you need to cover 3 things: where they are, what they're struggling with, where they want to be, and whether or not your program can actually help them. Then you need to track everything. Watch the replays, learn what's actually moving people, and you're sorted. But even with a proper sales process, I started to notice something. Too many of those calls still felt like I was convincing people who hadn't fully made up their mind. And I wanted to fix that because they turn up, they were curious, but they weren't really committed despite the 2 calls. So we needed something that did the convincing for us before we even got on a call. So let me ask you, what if every prospect who got on a call with you had already decided that they wanted to work with you? Well, that's exactly what a video sales letter does. A proper one, not a fancy one. I literally made one in an afternoon, straight off the cuff. I just used Miro. I had a little slide, my face in the corner. It wasn't anything fancy. And here's what I walked through. I walked through 5 things. These are the same 5 things you need to use. Problem. So I was looking at what was keeping coaches stuck right now and why what they were trying wasn't working. Possibility. I was showing them that there's actually a better way, and here's what it looks like when it's working. A path. I showed them, here's the framework that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. I showed them plenty of proof, which was basically how it worked for me and how it worked for my other clients, and then a simple pitch. Here's what to do next if you want our help. That's it. No fake scarcity, no 4,700 testimonials, just the clear story told properly. Once that video was up, the prospects started turning up to the calls, already half sold, objections dropped massively, conversion went up, and I went on the phone all day, repeating the same 30 to 45 minute pitch to every new lead. So the reality is this: the better your marketing, the easier your sales become. If you're working hard on every single call, your marketing is almost always the problem. That's why step 7 is to build a video sales letter that sells while you sleep. So here's exactly how to build yours. So you just need to script it using those 5 Ps: problem, possibility, path, proof, pitch. And then record it. Loom, slides is fine. Don't mess around. Don't think I need to go to a studio or get proper lighting. Just get it done and then drop it everywhere. Calendar page, email signature, PS of every email you send, anywhere that a prospect might want more info before booking. Just keep it 15 to 30 minutes, long enough to do the job, short enough that they'll actually watch it. But a VSL that runs 24/7 is only useful if people are actually finding it. Because you can have the best VSL in the world and it does nothing if nobody clicks play. So of course, in order to fix that problem, we need traffic. And this is where so many coaches panic and run in the opposite direction, because we're now going to talk about marketing and specifically paid ads. So the minute I mention ads to a coach, they go, oh, I can't afford that, or I need 10 grand a month. Oh, that's for proper businesses. But most coaching programs will tell you that you need thousands a month to spend on ads to make things work. But they're entirely wrong. And I think that most of them are saying this because they want to be able to sell you some fancy ad agency on the back end for like 25 grand. But listen, we acquire leads for less than $5 to $10 a day. Some clients are running their ads for less than the price of a cup of coffee each day. What we run is dead simple. We have organic content and paid combined on Instagram to bring in warm, ready leads. We can, of course, speed it up to put us in front of more dream clients by spending more money, but it all points to the VSL. And the VSL points to a discovery call. The discovery call becomes a consultation. The consultation becomes a client. That's the whole entire funnel. No clever stack, no 179 lead magnets, just a clear path from the first time hearing about me to signing up to ECA. That's why step 8 is to get in front of more of the right people. So pick a traffic source, pointer at your VSL, that's it entirely. Now here's the cruel bit. Once leads are flowing and calls are converting, you've got a bottleneck. And usually it's you, because every new client still wants more of your time. And of course, there's only so much of it, unless you're cleverer than me and you've already cloned yourself. But let me show you what I mean. So when I started Elite Coaching Academy, I taught it all live. Every week, the same lessons, the same questions would pop up. I'd give the same answers. But after a few cohorts, I noticed something entirely that changed the business, right? There were certain bits that coaches rewatched. There were certain things that they kept coming back to, certain questions that kept coming up. So I just stopped teaching all of those things live and I recorded them all properly. I built them into the program on demand as modules. So anything that got asked more than twice just became a permanent asset. So it wasn't a course. What we did is we created a performance engine. It was simply built to get coaches results without me having to be on every single call. That one move gave me so much time back, gave clients better outcomes, and it gave the business an even bigger margin. That's why step 9 is to turn yourself into assets. If you've taught it more than twice, record it. You don't need to disappear and build a whole different course for this. Just literally start with what you've already delivered. Start with the questions that always get asked. So now you've got a framework, you've got a tight package, systems behind it, a leveraged offer, sales process that qualifies, a VSL, traffic, and assets that scale delivery. There's only one thing left to do. And if you don't do this, everything else we have spoken about becomes pretty redundant. So after running ECA for a few cohorts, I had what I needed. We had the framework that worked. We had real results. Coaches like George, who did 23.5K in 73 days, did like 100K last month. We had Cully, who was stuck at 1 to 2K a month, did 20K and recently did 32K in 1 month. We had Dave, a sober coach, who at 15K in 3 weeks. We had loads and loads of results. And we had a delivery system that didn't depend on me being on every single call. So what we did is we rolled it out to the masses. No big launch, no 47 email sequence, and we did it all without a complicated funnel. We literally updated the VSL based on the results. We tweaked the sales calls based on the results. We sent a few emails to the list saying, here's what we've built. Here's who it's for. The doors are open. That was it. And that was the moment it stopped feeling like a test and started feeling like a proper business. And that's why step 10 is to actually go public, because nobody ever learned to swim by just reading about swimming. So here's exactly how you do the same, okay? Email your list. If you don't have a list, tell everybody you know. Tell them the story. Tell them what you've built. Tell them why it works. Tell them who it's for. And then just update your VSL and your sales process to reflect the new offer. And you're going to lean on the wins from the early clients, and you're going to make the path to join you really easy. But please, whatever you do at this point, don't make people work in order to give you money. Make it super easy. So what you can do is you can send 2 or 3 promo emails, one post, maybe a short kind of info session if you fancy. That's it. You don't need a huge bonus stack, just a clear invitation to your new offer. That's it. That is the 10 steps. Look, this is the proper version of how we got from £30,000 to £108,000 in a month. Now, it didn't happen overnight, but it happened over time. Now, before I wrap this video up, at the start of this video, I said that there was one thing that most coaches skip. And if you do skip it, then this whole thing just falls on its backside. So here it is. It's not the framework, it's not the offer, it's not the funnel. It's simply the decision to stop running your business like a hobby and start running it like a business. Every coach that I've worked with who broke through to 10, 20, and even £50,000 a month made the same shift. They stopped tweaking and started building. They stopped collecting tactics and they actually committed to a system. And they stopped waiting until they felt ready. So if you're a good coach watching this and you want our help building this out in your own business, this is exactly what we do in the Elite Coaching Academy and the Elite Coaching Mastermind. So there's a link below to booking a call with me directly, but please only book if you're serious about getting help, because the calendar fills up faster than I can keep up with. And if you're thinking, Sean, this is all great, but I haven't even got an offer yet, where do I start? Then just watch this video here and I'll show you exactly how you can build that offer out that will take you to 10K a month in less than 9 minutes.